I didn't go to the earlier screening for Spider-Man. I didn't go to the 3 o'clock, but I ended up going to the 5 o'clock because I had to work.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I will say about this town that I miss so much about Miami is the spazzing moments of like the fan service.
Yeah.
I don't get. I saw the movie by myself because my
So you
brother had
lose
got.
that. It's almost like watching it
Yeah,
at home.
and I had gotten the tickets for my brother and I. He had to go to the DMV last minute to change his plates from Florida to Texas, and he was in there all day. And he's like, right before the movie started, he's like, "Dude, I'm not gonna make it, man. And sorry, I'll see you later." I was like, "All right, cool." And he was more hyped than I was, which is I didn't think was possible, but he was like ready to see this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt bad, but I mean, there were so many cool moments in this movie, and if you know the lore, and if you just as a fan in general about anything Spider-Man, there was something for you in this film. Hey, look.
Yeah, exactly. We're a bit covered in Spider-Man tonight.
Yeah, dude. And you didn't have those. I mean, I could only imagine in certain theaters. I don't know how your theater reaction was. Like certain moments and certain cameos that you get in this, where I was like, oh shit, like looking to the side, and the guy next to me is just like, and I'm like, ugh.
It kind of kills it. It kind of kills it.
Yeah, dude. And I miss, and I'm like, I told my brother, I'm like, I fucking wish you were there with me, man, because I didn't have anybody to gush with, I didn't have anybody to be like, fuck, did you see that? I mean, I did personally, and it didn't take away from it. It adds to it. It doesn't take away from it. It just adds to that experience. And I've noticed that in none of the movies, anything has happened. The only movie that I heard people like kind of like cheer and whoop were fucking Fast X, where I was like, then I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I'm hoping that for the Flash, I get a cool crowd because I heard there's a lot of surprises, like, old and new DC fans alike. Where I don't know anything besides what they showed us on the trailer. I heard the director spoiled some shit.
I didn't even know
it. I don't know what it is, and I've noticed because I watched some reviews myself on the movie, and they're like, there's a cool scene that was apparently spoiled by the director, kind of as a marketing, like, hey, we have this coming in too. We'll answer this question.
Yeah.
And the reviewer was like, you didn't need to do that, and it kind of sucks. It was Chris Stuckman. So I was watching Chris Stuckman's review, and he was saying how much he was like, I didn't know about it. I saw the movie. I thought it was awesome. And then somebody was like, yeah, I got spoiled for me moments before because I was reading an interview with Andy Muschietti, and he ruined it. But we're not talking Flash today. We are talking Spider-Verse. And what a movie. What a movie. This movie for me, I'm just going to go out and say it is a 10 out of 10 for me. It is probably, I think, my favorite Spider-Man film to date.
You're leading with it. Okay.
Yeah, wow. I think so. I think I can. Again, this is based off that one view. It can't change. My lists always change up and down. Fuck you, Steve.
It's all fluid.
It's all fluid. No, Steve got fucking jokes. He's the clown here because he's got the fucking jokes. He wants to come at me. Anyways, but yeah, dude, I was just so in awe watching this movie from things I didn't know that me and Ed talked about, because I don't know too much of the Spider-Gwen story. I know she exists. I know she's a thing. I know she has her own comic books, but seeing that Peter Parker was Lizard to me was fucking super cool.
That was awesome.
Super cool. I thought that was such a fresh take. And then he's like, oh, that's from the comics. I'm like, fuck, I gotta do some deep dive on Spider-Man comics, man. Because
that was in the first 30 to 40 issues of Spider-Gwen that I had read.
Yeah.
And the other quick thing before I throw it back to you is, so we will whatever. Each universe we go into has its own artwork.
Has their own art.
Genius.
Yeah.
The artwork from Spider-Gwen is from her comics, which I thought was fucking unbelievable. that they nailed that perfectly. Like it's like a painting, and the emotions change with the background and stuff. Jason, go on, I'm sorry.
No, the genius of this movie is like we have these disparate and completely different styles of art, like Spider Punk, which is like off-putting, right? And Spider Gwen, which is, as you said, like this beautiful painting. It's like, and it all works together. Like how does this meld so perfectly?
Yeah, I thought it was a smart move too, especially like I caught part of Into the Spider-Verse recently on TV and just rewatching like 10 minutes of that, and I just saw Across the Spider-Verse. I'm like, the animation style, the choice to have each world have its own animation was genius. It really is taking it to the next level from because the first movie is beautiful, but this is like a whole nother thing.
This was next level, and it got to the point with me where my jaw was on the floor, and I was like, how did they do that? How do you get so many animation styles in one frame? Mind-boggling to me, where I'm like, this was the like epitome of movie magic. And mind you, we watch films left and right all day. It's kind of what we like to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sports and movies, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that they do where you're like, all right, they did this way. You kind of have an idea of how shit gets done, right? Not everything. We don't make movies or anything like that. But this is one of the times in a long time where I'm like, how the fuck did they do that? You know, it was just so cool. And I loved how the introduction to this film, we don't see Miles until what, like 20 minutes in?
More or less? Yeah, because they go with Spider-Gwen's origin.
It's Gwen's origin. Gwen's story in the beginning.
Which I thought was super cool. I was like, man, this is taking a while, but I'm loving it. And I loved everything about it leading up to it. Everything about it, the beginning and the animation style. And then we get, go to Miles World, Miles universe. And then you just see that animation we're used to seeing with the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And just as he's, I know I'm kind of going everywhere right now, but as you get introduced to certain characters, certain art, the art style, just how it changes. Fucking chef's kiss, dude.
Yeah, the biggest jump too from besides some of the Spider-Gwen stuff, like the very painting style, was when they go to Spider-Man India, and he has his own thing there. But like Jason had mentioned, when Hobie jumps in there and he has his own thing, it's like very I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, like British rebel punk rock type thing. Like I'm not sure what the term is.
Old school. Yeah, it's punk. It is punk. It's punk.
Like Sex Pistols type thing that's going on.
I was thinking, Ramones, all that shit. Yeah, is what I was thinking.
He jumps in, but you're right. Like it doesn't seem like it's like shoehorned or forced. Like it's just there.
It's not out of place.
No, not at all. But and we're jumping with. But I guess so. Overall thoughts. You've got it as the best your favorite Spider-Man film to date.
I think so. I think so. It's always been a thought because part Into the Spider-Verse, which is wild to me. I have it teeter-tottering with No Way Home.
Yeah.
So I have Spider-Verse, No Way Home, Spider-Verse, No Way Home going back and forth. And I think as mind blown as I was when I finished watching each of those films, this one left me even more like, oh my God, like, what did I just experience? And it happens every time you watch at least the last 3 Spider-Man films, right? Yeah. It happens. This one, again, it just left me in awe, and I loved everything about it. I've heard a lot of negative review. I've had somebody text me last night, in fact, saying like, oh, did you catch Spider-Verse? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, I fucking hated that ending. And I get it, because they're like, it doesn't feel like a complete film. I get it. I get why the people like, but even that person that texts me is very in the know of films and movie news and all this shit. So I was like, did you not know it was a 2-parter? And he goes, I did, but I kind of like, since it didn't say part 1 in any marketing, very little marketing.
Neither did Kill Bill.
That's kind of on him.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, well, that's what I told him. I'm like, I don't know. I hated and loved it. It was more, I hated it because now I have to wait, but I was that, and we'll get more into detail with that. But I actually, it feels like a again, not even like a Kill Bill. It honestly felt to me like a Back to the Future Part 2. Like
That's a good
it just
comparison.
That's a good
cuts,
comparison.
cuts, and you're like, oh shit, like fuck, we gotta go to 1885 to see what's up with Doc. You know, now we're like, what the fuck is gonna happen now? You know, but loved it. The one thing that I will say I like more on the first one, like kind of like hands down, is the soundtrack. The score in this is fantastic, but the actual soundtrack, I felt I like it a lot because I've been listening to it a whole lot. But I feel the first one had more tracks that I was like, just even long after the movie came out, I was still banging that soundtrack. You know, I felt like this one has great tracks, but it's not a press play album for me. It's not like a top to bottom, while the other one was more or less a top to bottom. I probably had maybe 1 or 2 skips on the other album.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Regarding the soundtrack, I can agree with that. Even though I'll admit I have not had a chance to continuously listen to this one because this dropped on the same day as the new Foo Fighters album. So I was trying to listen to both. Yeah, I was trying to listen to both on Tidal, so I need to give it more time. But I do enjoy it.
I've heard like 4 or 5 tracks out that Foo Fighter album, and it's fucking awesome, dude.
It really is.
It really is a good album. So
Jason, so I'm sorry. So your overall thoughts on the film, because we saw this together. So I did have my guy in the chair next to me as I was watching the film, and there was reactions, but we had to kind of like get going right after. So what were your thoughts on this thing?
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved this. It's funny because like I had stopped reading comic books by the time Miles came around. So my exposure to Miles is just like these movies and the video game and like the cartoons and stuff. But these movies are so good. I'm a huge Miles fan now. I have no nostalgia for him. I'm just a big fan of the character because these movies alone like are so brilliant. And I loved everything about this movie. I loved all of the new Spider-Man variants we got. I loved the overall story. I loved the how they were very self-aware when it came to like the Council of Spider-Man. You know, we got the you know, Spider-Man's around. We got the meme, which I thought was awesome. You know, so yeah, I mean, I loved everything about this movie. It's funny because I had forgotten. I knew, but I have a terrible memory, and so I had forgotten this was a 2-parter. And we were like, I was watching it in my head. Whenever I watch a movie, I always try to gauge, you know, for bladder reasons, how far do I have left of this movie based on what I know about plot structure. And we're going through this movie, and I'm like, we're still in the climax of this movie, and I had to be sitting here for like 2 hours, and then it's like to be continued. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, that's right, I forgot.
So it's funny you say that was your train of thought, because that was mine, but it was the actual opposite, where it started. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's a 2-parter, and then I'm like, but I didn't think it was gonna be like that boom, like cut it. I thought they were gonna have a somewhat resolution and a bigger problem would evolve type ending. You know, like I thought it was gonna be something of the sort, and as I am watching it, I'm like, this is getting so good right now. And then I'm like, and I'm looking at my I'm looking at my phone. And I'm like, they're gonna do us so dirty right now. And I'm like, I really don't want this to happen. And I just knew that time was ticking. And it was I know they're gonna pull the plug right now, and I'm gonna be so pissed. But I'm like, but I have no complaints. Literally had no complaints. And boom, they do it, and I'm just like, I'm like, all right. Immediately got on my phone. When is the next movie come out? And they had already announced that it was going to be March. I'm like, all right, not a full year, 8 months.
Not too
wait. Not too bad.
So my thoughts. I mean, I love the movie. I think it's fantastic. It is one of the best Spider-Man movies ever made. It's in the conversation because I know when we did our rankings last time when we did the No Way Home review, I think most of us had No Way Home and across Into the Spider-Verse back and forth. This is definitely in the conversation. I'm not sure where it's in the top 3 for sure. It's tough for me to still like settle in with it again to see where that is. But it's a phenomenal film love it. The ding that I originally, as I was watching the movie, I thought I had a ding on it that, like you mentioned, it takes a little while for the story to fully kick in, but I wasn't bored. I was just like, all right, it's cool. We're hanging out with these characters. We're seeing Gwen's proper origin instead of like a vague reference. And then we catch up with Miles, and that's really cool. And then once that happens and they meet up, like, then shit starts like it hits 100 miles an hour and doesn't stop. And that was cool. And I briefly forgot that it was a two-parter. And then as things were going on, I'm like, that's right, this is a two-parter. Yeah. They're going to pull out the rug from underneath us. But I think the way that it is, though, and I won't ding it for that because if I remember correctly, that was decided once the movie was already in production that they were going to make it a two-parter, a la Kill Bill. So I'm like, fine, you broke it up into two. It's less than a year wait. I can deal with that.
See, now,
the Easter eggs, the references, everything. Go ahead.
You brought Kill Bill into it. No, you brought Kill Bill into it. And I think the perfect ending of this movie would have been all different Spider-Man clones or Spider-Man, like multiversals, like talking about catching Miles. Like, yeah, we have a right. He has a right to kill us. But we don't have a right to die.
Yeah,
it's like
just go full in Kill Bill on the fucking nose.
Just exactly on the nose.
Yeah, so I loved it, and upon a second viewing, when I was ready for the rug to get pulled down underneath me, I loved it. Highly recommend if you can see it in IMAX. Just the beauty of this film. That's the thing that stands out to me. As great as the story is, and I love the characters, the look of this film, the animation of this film is absolutely revolutionary. And
it's nothing like this has ever been done.
Anywhere,
nothing
ever.
Agreed.
I honestly think this is a lock for Oscar again. I think it's going to be
It has to be.
It has to be. Yeah.
There's no way anything beats this film. There's no way.
No,
there's not.
No other movie has even come close to animation style of what this has done. Again, this is made up of dozens of different animation styles working, plus live action, all working together, gelling. Like watching this, like I was thinking, this is as revolutionary as Who Framed Roger Rabbit was for the 80s, which, you know, like that comparison, I mean, that was a huge technological innovation of what you could do. And watching this reminded me of that.
Yeah, because we do get a little bit of live action, and we can talk about Easter egg spoilers or cameos now, just wide open with it.
I mean, cameo. I think we're all talking about the same one, right?
Like, Donald Glover,
what
as the Prowler? What?
That is insane. And that's another moment where I was like, nobody's gonna clap about this. Not one person.
Jason, there was a gasp in our theater when that happened. It was
I gasped.
Oh shit!
I gasped. I went, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, dude, I did not expect that. I mean, seeing Mrs. Chang was like, oh man, that's pretty cool. I mean, they acknowledge. I'm like, all right, I don't care for these movies, but that is just a nice little nudge. Fuck. When I saw Donald Glover, I was like, oh my god, there's no way that they did finally.
And you get the suit.
Yeah,
he was in the suit.
He was so great, man. And then you see a bunch of little, you see the PS4 Spider-Man, which I'm like, that's fucking cool, man.
My favorite Spider-Man cameo is this one, which is the Iron Spider from the PlayStation game. This is my favorite one, and you see him walking down the hall, and I was like, I had to bring this action figure on because it looks awesome.
No, but seeing that spectacular Spider, it's just every iteration of Spider-Man was made somewhat of a cameo on screen. Even the Baghead one with the
Fantastic
Four.
Yeah. There's almost every Spider-Man you could imagine. I mean, they also, even though they're previous clips, we get Andrew Garfield Spider-Man in this. We get Tobey Maguire Spider-Man in this. We get a reference to Tom Holland Spider-Man, which, by the way, possibly the line of the movie by Gwen when she hears about Doctor Strange from Miguel O'Hara, and she's like, "Well, maybe you shouldn't be practicing medicine."
Yeah, no, it was so good, dude. But I loved it, man, and I love that mention because I was like, "Oh shit, there it is, This is what we needed to just kind of have it connect to the MCU. There is a mention, and it's just something so small that I was just like, this is so great." this is so great. But it was so poetic to me to watch Donald Glover in a Spider-Verse film as the Prowler. Obviously, you know, you don't know the history. He's kind of based off Miles, or Miles is based off him.
Yeah.
You know, all because of the Community episode, and there was the campaign and the whole nine. And just seeing him in Homecoming when we saw him, and I'm like, "Fuck, that's a cool. That was a cool little tip of the hat to him." And then now you see him in a full suit. It's just like
it's
coming
fantastic.
along beautifully. So that cameo for me was fucking out of this world, man.
I really want to see Donald Glover as the Prowler in one of these Tom Holland Spider-Man or whatever. I don't even, it doesn't have to be Tom Holland. Give us a live action Miles. I don't care. But I love that character of the Prowler. I would love, because I'm a big Donald Glover fan. It's funny because I know him from Community first, so I know him as like lovable comedian. And then I found Childish Gambino, but I'm such a huge fan of his. Like, I would love to see him as our fucking MCU Prowler.
Funny you mentioned that, because Amy Pascal during the press tour mentioned the big reveal last week came out that we are getting a live action Miles Morales. That's supposed to be in the works.
So my theory. I know we're jumping. I'm going to jump. I feel like in Beyond the Spider-Verse, they will introduce us to the MCU Miles Morales. I feel like that is going to be one of the endings, and that's how they're going to fucking.
He's going to jump out of the animated and into the live action.
Yep, I think and it it's something. 8 months away, they can literally shoot a 3-minute scene and plug that shit in there, and I think that's going to be one of the things. I think we might get. I have a feeling that we might get some Tom Holland in the next one as well. But I feel like the main thing that it's going to be their gateway, or the MCU's gateway to introduce our live action MCU Miles will be in the next film.
So I guess that raises the question there. So I was going to say is that, and I threw this on our Facebook page, I don't know if we're going to get Miles in the MCU. I wouldn't be totally shocked, but my guess is my theory to this is I think it's going to be Sony's Spider-Man. They have a Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
No Spider-Man. They need a Spider-Man. I think Miles is going to be Sony's Spider-Man
going forward.
I think he's the Spider-Man that's going to interact with their podge of whatever you want to call is going on over there.
That makes
whatever the hell that is. I'm not saying I love this idea. I'm just I'm going to guess. I'm throwing out a theory.
I think you're right.
I don't want to be right.
But I think you are, because it only makes sense. Why would Sony give up their second Spider-Man? Like, especially if they're building the Rogues Gallery, right? With Morbius and checks notes, the Vulture, which has no beef with Miles Morales. Okay, but like, it just depresses me if that's what's. It doesn't. It just depresses me that that's what's going to happen, because Miles deserves to be in the MCU. He's a great character.
I want Jader to be right. I'd want to.
I honestly think, to be completely honest with you, because we have the Donald Glover, and everybody has blown up about that, and everybody has been how fucking amazing it's been. What a cameo! Because we have him in the suit, and he is a Miles Morales character. I think they're going to lean towards it. I think they're going to.
I hope so.
I hope I'm right.
I do too.
I hope you're completely wrong.
I want to be. I want you to be right. I'm stating this.
I just don't fucking care for that world, dude. That what they've built so far for me,
it's garbage.
Jader, because it's not a world. It's something.
I hate it. It's
Jason's soulless cash grab.
Like, I think
yes, exactly.
I think they announced somebody coming in for Venom 3. I forgot what the Venom 3 news that we got was. It was a recent, but exactly where I'm like, I don't care. Like, and especially in a Venom world where the only thing that was gonna get my ass in a seat is either to see him fight a Spider-Man or a Carnage, and they already fucking blew it with Carnage. I don't care. So
yeah, it's rough. And then we still have Craven on the way, and we have
which
I'm kind of intrigued. I'm intrigued.
All right,
only because I like him. I like.
Yes, I
Aaron
like him
Taylor.
also.
I like him a lot.
I love the character of Kraven. It's just like what, like how are we doing Kraven without Spider-Man? What's the point?
Exactly. You know who's getting it right? The fucking the video game. Video game is Spider-Man 2 introducing Kraven the Hunter
heard,
with
yeah.
Venom.
I'm excited for that.
So
Yeah.
did you notice that there was Miles's roommate is playing the upcoming Spider-Man 2?
Oh, I didn't even clock
That's a
that.
gameplay thing that he has from. It's supposed to be from Spider-Man 2.
What happened? I'm sorry.
Miles's roommate is playing a video game in his room, and it's on the TV in his room, and it's supposed to be Spider-Man 2. Like it's an actual gameplay thing. Yeah, that was one of the random Easter eggs that are thrown into this.
What a world we live in, huh?
It's sick.
It's just
sick.
It's so fantastic.
Cool.
I love that we fuck you, Tim. Wait,
I was waiting for that to get addressed, but
hold on.
is he getting an Oreo?
Oh no.
Is that what's happening here?
We have a live on air eating.
Wow, he has them available. Tim's gonna get proved wrong, I think, right about now.
Right now.
Wow.
Anyways, continue, boys. Continue.
No, so another one of my favorite cameos in this thing to get it back from I don't want to get upset and oh wow, there it is.
Fuck you.
Was the 60s Spider-Man re-emerging and popping in there. I thought he was great. I anytime awesome. I use him with the old cigarette voice.
Yeah, dude. I wish I would have gone back because usually when I see a movie the second time, I'm on my phone. Like I'm in the corner and I'm just writing like single lines and all that shit, you know? And there was so many one-liners in this movie that I can't remember, but I remember laughing a lot. But the one that I remember was the horse one. And it's the wait till 3. You didn't wait till 3. That shit fucking killed me. I laughed so hard in that scene, dude.
We get Spider-Man T-Rex in this one, which I thought was really cool. I was
just going to bring that up. Is that a real thing? Because
recent. It's recent.
Yeah. All right, I need to read that comic. I have to read that comic. That is my stated mission. I will read that comic over the summer.
Yeah, we get him also. We get Scarlet Spider, Ben Reilly, which I thought was pretty awesome, voiced by Andy Samberg, which was pretty genius. There's also Spider-Man Unlimited.
I was chewing. I didn't want to.
Yeah, Spider-Man Unlimited is also in this from the fucking Bizarro sequel to the Fox's Spider-Man from the 90s.
From the 90s.
Very strange. If anyone's ever seen Spider-Man Unlimited, it is fucking weird. It is very weird. But he's in this too. I'm trying to remember who else that we see. Because I mean, the main ones are Miles, Gwen, Spider-Man India, Spider-Punk, which seems to be everyone's favorite. He's like a big hit in this. But I thought was great.
I felt like Spider-Punk was I think I told you this. It was
Spider-Man Noir.
Spider-Man Noir from the first one, how he won us over and all that shit.
Yeah.
But he was my Spider-Man Noir in this one. He was kind of like, and he was the MVP of the film.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
He ends up saying "fuck you," and then he ends up saving. Well, not saving them, but giving Gwen the thing to be able to travel.
Yeah, because without that, then I mean they're basically fucked.
Yeah. Which
Tim,
I thought
by the way, Tim's bringing in one of my favorite ones, Video Man. So for those who watch Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, which me and Tim have bonded over for many years, fucking Video Man is in this. He's one of the most absurd characters from that cartoon. And it's an absurd cartoon on a lot of levels, but this was definitely one of them. Video Man, phenomenal fucking thing. It just makes you know Lord and Miller really fucking get the character and the lore and everything by pulling these things out of their asses. So
it was just a little thing. And there was another one right next to Video Man, which was like a green blog thing. I was like, what is that? Because I noticed Video Man. I'm like, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
And I think that was actually the scene where the PS4, he was in between them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was.
The camera's going through, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And who else are we leaving out in here that are shit? You mentioned Spectacular Spider-Man. There's over 200.
No way to clock.
There's over 200.
Yeah, dude, there was so many, man. There was so many of them. Half of the suits from the PS4 games were in there.
Yes.
Like
yes, they were.
So many of the suits, man. I'm like, this is so fucking.
Because those suits are awesome. They're really good looking. If you played that game.
Yeah, I love that game.
Yeah.
I love that game.
Yeah, me too.
But and Miles' story in this is extremely fucking interesting. It harkens back to the whole, like the canon, right? Like Miguel O'Hara talks about the canon. I guess we could jump to him in a second because we didn't really touch on Spider-Man 2099. But Miles, like, the big reveal and the twist that he's not supposed to be his Earth Spider-Man died only because of like this whole thing that was created and the wrong spider ended up biting him. They kind of throw Miguel hits him with like, dude, you were like a mistake.
You were a mistake, which
you were the original anomaly.
Yeah.
Which that line, let me tell you, harsh because I was watching. I was like, I was like, I was like, fuck. That scene was so good, where and Miles is just not taking, like, he's like, fuck it, like, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna prove to you why. Basically, I was the chosen one, which leads me to believe, like, how intense. Okay, so the big reveal. Okay, do you want to jump at the? Oh,
no,
you know what?
Ahead.
We'll talk 2099. No, we'll talk 2099,
okay.
and then I'll think the end.
Yeah, because we like to hit the characters first, and then we can dive in story more.
Yeah. But that line for me was just Oscar Isaac fucking killed this role. Everything about this guy Miguel, I loved. As cruel as he was, and as kind of cutthroat as he was, you understand why he is the way that he is, and I loved that. I love that about him. And that scene to me was just like this, just the delivery of it, of how shitty it must make Miles feel, even though he doesn't take it. You get me? But fuck, just to hear that you have all this amazing and everything you've done beforehand, because you can't ignore what Miles did in the first one, and everything he's gone through so far, and to be told like, kind of like, you're a piece of shit and this wasn't supposed to be your life, like, fuck, that stinks.
It's fucked up. And because Miles spends the entire first movie proving himself and becoming Spider-Man, and when we pick up with him, he's holding things down. But you can see he's still learning along the way, but he's come a long way from the first movie. And now it's like Miguel O'Hara's totally shitting on him and be like, no, dude, you were a fucking mistake. Fuck you. You're an anomaly. Pretty much like we're gonna end you. Like you're done. And they were working around him for most of the movie to, because of the whole canon thing that they were trying to do and mistakes that Miles was making. And it was like, you just mistake after mistake after mistake. So
I wanted to share my so I talked to my students a lot about these movies, right? Because they watch them too. And I had a student who had a really good theory. His theory is that Miguel is so angry at Miles. The reason is because Miguel himself is the first anomaly. Because we're going to find out that Miguel tried to change canon to save his family and failed or something like that. Yeah. And he's angry because Miles actually
made it work.
Yeah, making it work. So not my theory, it's my student's theory, but I wanted to bring it here because I thought it was really good.
I like that. I do think there's something going on with the canon. We're going to find out like the canon's not right, or it's...
I agree.
Miguel's off on some base. That's actually a more articulated way to put it, like a very specific, that he was the original anomaly. So that's interesting. Because we do also know Miles is the hero here. He's going to end up. It's going to work out for him.
He wins.
At some point. Yeah, he will win at the end.
He wins.
But this movie does do a thing, because the comparisons I heard going into this movie were The Dark Knight, Empire Strikes Back. And I'm like, wow, we're getting like
this movie's its own
the
thing.
Elite. Yeah. Well, I mean, I was saying we were getting the elite.
No, it's just like those elite sequel levels, which you can't deny.
Okay.
You can't deny it.
No, I'm not denying it, but I think also it ends on a fucking note where the hero loses.
On a downer. Just like Dark Knight and just like Empire Strikes
and
Back.
Infinity War.
Yeah.
The heroes literally fucking die and fail.
Yeah.
So
look, can I tell you that
gets that.
The ending, right? The reveal of who the Prowler is in the original universe, where the spider came from, and the fact that it's Miles. Oh my god, I didn't see that coming. At first I was like, okay, what's going on? But then like when it's him and he looks so different and he looks so badass, and oh god, and he's going to be an integral part of that next movie, and I am so excited to see the Miles Morales Prowler, and apparently that doesn't exist in the comic at all. So this is like something
I don't know.
fresh.
I don't know about not existing. I'm not 100% sure, but I saw somebody, Coil Jandrew. I don't know if you guys know him or not. He's a big comic guy.
Yeah.
And he said, he goes, he has this little segment on his Instagram lately where it's like, oh, if you like this, and he'll point the picture of Spider-Gwen. He's like, read this. And he's pointing at scenes from the movie. And there's legit a scene where he's like, if you liked him and it was Miles as Prowler, he goes, read this. Or if you liked him bad, read this. And the cover is the same Miles that you kind of see in the
Shit, really?
And he's holding, like, I don't know if he's choking or if he's just holding Miles in the black spider suit, and he's like crunched over like that. So
That's
I
cool.
think, if I'm not mistaken, there is some story arc. I'll probably reach out to him because he was part of the Schmodown. So I have somebody that knows him, and I'm just gonna be like, hey, where do I find that? Because I would like to read that, because I was one where I usually get good at guessing. We've seen so many movies, we kind of know where they kind of go for the most part. This was one that literally caught me by surprise, even seconds before I didn't know what was going to happen. So when Miles obviously goes to the universe, well, he goes, I forgot how the machine works again.
It's Earth 42.
Yeah, I know it's Earth 42, but it's not obviously Miles Earth. I mean, so Miles got bit by Spider number 42 that was supposed to give Earth 42's Spider-Man, right? And then he goes into a machine where it sends him back to his world, right? The only thing is that it sends him to Earth 42, which is not Miles's world. Then he goes into his room. He confesses to his mother to tell him, I'm Spider-Man, and I need to fix the problem, because if not, Dad's going to die. Because in his lore, in his story, in his future, his father's supposed to die, which is how I originally knew what happened with Miles in the comics. And though when they did the whole Prowler thing, I was like, oh, that's different. That's different. That's not how I expected this shit to go down. Anyways, so when his mom's like, who's Spider-Man? I'm like, oh, like I mean, and it was at that very second, like I didn't even think about it. I was like, oh shit. And I'm like, and immediately when she says that, and he's like kind of like looking around, whatever, he says, like, I mean, you see that he's in Earth 42. Then after that, Uncle Aaron walks in and he gives him that big hug. So you automatically hear the Prowler music on it, and you're like, oh shit, the Prowler's alive here, you know. And even then, when he's telling him, hey, we gotta go, we gotta do this or whatever, and he sees that it's a different Miles or whatnot, he knows that something's obviously up. Lures him to a roof, and then you get the reveal. Thinking this whole time, I'm still thinking Aaron's the Prowler, and you get the reveal.
I love that scene.
It's so beautiful. And then you get the reveal that he's not the Prowler. It's actually fucking Miles. Miles is the Prowler in this universe, where there's no Spider-Man and everything's just gone to shit because the spider never made it home.
Yep.
Now,
and I think it's so.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, real quick. I think it's super cool that we're literally getting to see, like, the reason Miles of Earth 42 becomes the Prowler is because our Miles gets the spider bite. Because if the spider doesn't bite Miles, that world has a Spider-Man, and it isn't like this dystopian cesspool where a guy as good as Miles becomes a villain, you know? So I love the fact that it's like the best Miles facing off against the worst Miles, and it's kind of, they're interconnected. One kind of created the other, like, you know, and I just thought that was so interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And I left my jaw on the floor, and then I started thinking, I'm like, I don't know if this is just out there. I'm just how my mind started working. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, if that happens, so we know that in Earth 42, Earth 42 Miles becomes Prowler because there was no spider to bite him. He becomes a villain, right? Kind of. Do you guys have a feeling that Aaron Prowler in Earth 42 maybe passed the torch to Miles? Like he was maybe the Prowler beforehand, and then he's like, my work, like, you know, someone's got to carry on this torch, legacy, what have you, and then he kind of passes the mantle on to villain Prowler Miles, because that's kind of how I took it. Like, just the colors Aaron was wearing, it seemed like he was a Prowler, and I know that's probably
I could
just
see that
to lure, but maybe like a passing of the torch. So then I started thinking, what happens if obviously the spider wasn't supposed to bite Miles, where there was a Peter Parker that died,
That's
and
what I was gonna
he ends up kind of sort of needed to become the Prowler in that world.
Well,
And
that's what
he
I was
should
gonna
have
say.
been
Well, that's what I was gonna say is that the spider was supposed to bite somebody. Like, could have been Miles, could have been that world's Peter Parker. We don't know, but this Miles also didn't have Spider-Man to inspire him, because don't forget, on Miles's world, he was inspired by that Peter Parker, that Spider-Man, and that's why he picks up the mantle after he dies. So there's no Spider-Man to inspire anyone to do good and everything like that, and to be the hero. So it could have been Miles. I think we're going to find that out in Beyond the Spider-Verse. Whoever that person was supposed to, maybe we meet another Peter Parker there. Maybe there's a twist and it was supposed to bite somebody else. I don't think they're going to just leave that dangling. I think we're going to find that out.
Oh, no. I think that's going to be one of the major plot points of this of the next film.
And as far as though with Aaron, I don't know, because they do mention, and by the way, love the fact that J.K. Simmons is J. Jonah Jameson, still voicing him in every universe. He is it. I love that. He does mention the Sinister Six cartel, who is what they're a part of. So I wonder if Miles is the Prowler of that Sinister Six, and maybe Aaron is someone. Maybe he's the Tinkerer, because maybe he built that for him or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, we're gonna see that Sinister Six, and technically, this would be the first Sinister Six that we see in a movie, because we haven't got exactly the Sinister Six yet. No, we got close in No Way Home. We got 5.
Yeah.
We didn't get 6 though.
Yeah.
Who we missing?
In what was that?
Who were we missing?
Well, I mean, we had Doc Ock.
We could have had Vulture.
We could have had Vulture, but we were wasting him in fucking Morbius.
Could have had Vulture.
You're right. Yeah. You're right. We should have had Vulture, at least a cameo.
Yeah, we should have had Vulture, and that would have been fucking great, man.
You would have completed it. You could name me Vulture, Doc Ock, Sandman, Electro. I mean, Lizard. Come on, like I would have been ecstatic with that. And Green Goblin, boom, that's a perfect Sinister Six.
That would have been great. And Keaton playing that role again. I think we've gushed over Keaton playing that role. He was just so good in that.
Yeah,
and that would have been fucking perfect. But they went ahead and send him to the Sony universe, which makes no goddamn
for reasons unknown.
I'm like, makes no goddamn sense whatsoever.
No sense at all.
But yeah. So I'm. That ending had me again, and then you get the hit with the to be continued. No post credit beside, no mid credit except for the reveal of what the next movie is going to be. Yeah, that's it. That's all you get. You know, you got to wait 8 more months, and we got to wait, and it's sad. It makes me sad.
It was kind of a gut punch, like Infinity War. That was the kind of gut punch that I got there.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So, question: is Nick Cage going to be in the next one? Because we saw Spider-Man Noir, so is he present?
They got the old gang back, baby.
Oh, yes. I'm very happy about that.
Penny was there. John Mulaney's Spider Pig was there. Yeah, Spider Ham. I keep saying Spider Pig because of fucking Simpsons. I always say that. But John Mulaney. Everybody was back, and that's one of the things that I loved about that ending. Just that final shot of them going to go save Miles, and they got the gang back, because they honestly
it was awesome.
They were missing in this film, man. I loved their characters so much in the first one, and we got a bunch of cool shit, but I'm like, I really like their dynamic throughout that whole first film.
I agree.
Even the scene where they go to May's house, and then you have Scorpion, and you have Tombstone and Doc Ock and everybody. That scene is so fucking cool in the first one, and I wanted something of the sort with this one. We didn't get something like that. You know, not in this one.
And Scorpion shows up briefly and gets totally disposed of by fucking Miles. While he's dealing, like he's talking in the beginning when we first.
Fuck! We haven't mentioned the spot at all.
That's where I was going. I was steering.
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah, dude.
So what are our thoughts on the Spot, though? I mean, he's pretty damn funny at first, and then you find out shit gets real with him as the movie goes on. Like, he becomes a real serious fucking threat.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I like, how they said that, how they were kind of making, the hero of the week or what, villain of the week or villain of the day or some shit like that. Mm-hmm. And he kept saying, like, stop fucking with me. And essentially, right? And then he just starts becoming just so powerful. And I feel like he's going to be a fucking force in the next film as well. I think we're going to have to deal with 2 major baddies in the next one. Like, some major shit's going to go down because of this man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was an awesome villain for this because he starts out comedic and then becomes really, really menacing. I love the fact that, much like the Prowler that we were just talking about, like, his fate is connected to Miles. Like, he exists because Miles fucked up in the first movie. Mm-hmm. And I kind of think that's brilliant because, like, Miles is green, and that's kind of the point, right? And I don't know, the fact that this movie is kind of exploring, like, well, what happens when you go out and you superhero and you fuck up? Like, it comes back to haunt you, and also the character reminded me a lot of the Alan Tudyk character from Doom Patrol, the first season.
Yeah, Mr. Nobody.
Mr. Nobody. So I love that character, so I dug that as well. But I love that. I think he's the perfect villain for this movie.
No, he was. One thing, and I loved how it was all something so minute in the first film, because
just the guy that got hit with the bagel.
Which, if you rewatch that movie, you don't even see his face or not. He launches it from far as the doors are closing, and the guy gets hit, and that's it. That's what you get. And he was the next big bad in the next film, and I'm like, bro, this is dope. This is so cool, man. Yeah, I was gushing about the film Friday morning at work, and everybody's like, I had like 2 coworkers like, I've never seen the first one, and I'm like, sit down right now and just watch it. We were really slow at work. Mm-hmm. As that scene is playing out, I was like, pay attention to the bagel. It's very, very important in the second movie. And they're like, what? And they see it. They're like, what happens with the bagel? I'm like, that's all you need to know.
Don't forget the bagel.
Yeah, don't forget the bagel scene. And then the next day, I guess they saw it that Friday night, and they were like, it's so crazy how a little bagel was the cause of everything going to shit in the second movie. And I'm like, yeah. And it's just great little I don't even know whose idea that was. Like, hey, why don't we do this? It's
brilliant. It was
fucking brilliant, man. It was so good.
And Peter B. Parker, I was actually super excited to see with Mayday Parker. Yeah. Now, I don't know if you guys know anything about Mayday Parker in the comics and stuff like that. She ends up being Spider-Girl down the line and stuff like that. I was see her as like the fucking infant now. And I'm hoping that they give her some shit to do in this one besides just being carried around by Peter. And the Peter also really having that when they're chasing down Miles. And he says, like, hey, listen, I only had her because of you, because of like my time with you, and I thought that was a pretty heavy fucking moment there.
It was beautiful.
Like character with it.
Yeah, no, it was, and I love that. And then when they were like, "Oh, you're the what was it? Your worst teacher ever, the worst sidekick ever, or whatever."
Mentor, you're the worst mentor.
He's just the worst mentor ever, and then Miles is just fucking going through everybody. He's like, I think I did a pretty good job, bro.
He just took all you guys out. He has us chasing, so that must be pretty fucking good.
Yeah, dude. That was awesome, man.
I actually love that moment where they're like, what are you thinking? You're not going to get it away. What's your plan? And he's like, I don't have a plan or whatever. And then he has that exchange with Miguel. And he's like, well, I did lure all the Spider-Man away from your headquarters. Yeah. And Peter B goes, he did have a plan.
Yeah. That was good. Man, he was great. That's another one that I wanted a little bit more of. I wanted to have, but I think again, everything from the first one, the teaming up, the teams and all that, I think this is what the big payoff in the third one is going to be. Like
that they come back because I think they wanted to focus this more on Miles and bring in the new Spider-Man. So the big finale in the next one where they all get like hopefully all shared screen time and no one kind of gets like kicked to the curb.
Yeah,
because that would fucking suck. Jessica Drew, by the way, also pretty badass, and then it was interesting they went with pregnant Jessica Drew.
Yeah,
on a motorcycle. She was pretty awesome. I liked her a lot too. trying to think if there's any other Spider people that we did not touch on or anything like
Jessica Drew was cool. Obviously, Miguel was fantastic.
Yeah,
I
so
liked
he was
I
great.
liked the beginning of the film too, with his parents and the dynamic of the family and all that stuff.
Mhm.
I wasn't bored watching this film, and a lot of people. It
Same.
does take a while to get going to what we're essentially we signed up for when
Yeah.
we go see a Spider-Man film. But I don't know if it's just me as a father or what. I like these moments in these films where just the family dynamic of it. Um, I was not bored at all. That's why, and again, I had some people tell me the same thing. They're like, "Oh, the second half is way better than the first half." I'm like, I don't think so. Like, I think it was just an equally great film overall. Oh, fucking drawing of the vulture in the beginning.
Yes,
Oh,
Italian
yes!
Vulture.
Awesome, dude. Yes,
Yes,
dude.
the Renaissance Leonardo da Vinci Vulture was brilliant. And again, I want to read
Awesome,
that
dude.
comic book.
Yeah, that was really cool. So it goes back to I'm like, man, that whole thing with Gwen and her dad and her revealing, and then her making the choice of do I stay here and get arrested, or obviously at that time we think that that Captain Stacy is actually gonna do it,
Mhm.
and then she has to live with that. And then I mean, obviously Jessica Drew talks to Miguel, tells her to go. But that all that decision making that she had to do, and her dad talking like enthusiastically about the case. We're gonna get this guy or this girl, or we're so close to the case, having her in his living room, not knowing, and her fucking falling apart. Fucking great
Her
stuff.
her comics look good, dude. If you get a chance, grab a graphic novel of Spider Gwen and just check some of that out.
Just
Her
go in
shit
there,
is
huh?
her shit is fucking cool, man. It really is.
Yeah.
There's also a moment in the original Spider-Verse story in the comics where when Main 616 Peter meets Spider Gwen for the first time and has this whole like what the fuck moment, because remember that's
Yeah.
never been touched upon
Mhm.
in these movies, that the
Ever.
relationship of Peter Parker and fucking Gwen Stacy.
Yep.
That's
And-
right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool thing where he's just like taken aback, like he's like blown away by her, like you're alive and stuff like that, after the whole thing that happened with them. So, but I get it. They're going more now where it's the Spider Gwen shipping with Miles Morales, and that's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
you would assume this Peter B. Parker never had a Gwen Stacy, perhaps, and that was that. So
He's lucky he had a Mary Jane. He's pathetic.
he's got a lot of shit going on, man.
He does. I love that character so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's pretty great.